Hello, welcome to episode 176 in this series where I am sometimes programming an NES game live from scratch on Twitch. It's been a couple months, sorry about that. I had thought I was going to be going off and doing all this work off stream, and really what just ended up happening was that I got super busy with a million other things. And kind of as expected, the streaming was keeping me on track with what I was doing. So that all aside, I figured I have some time tonight. I'm going to do some streaming, take care of a couple things just to try and see if we can get those working, and then wrap it. I don't want to be on here for too long, but since we last met here on stream, I rebuilt this PC. This is using a new CPU, and out of necessity with the new CPU, it's using a new motherboard and new RAM. So I figured if I was going to do that, I should probably get a hard drive that matched the motherboard, so it's an M.2 drive. And because I was getting a new drive for the motherboard, I figured, I was having these problems where Windows 10 was locking up on me. And I assumed that it was probably Windows. I wasn't 100% sure, but it seemed like it was the OS and not anything hardware specifically, because I had run a bunch of tests and removed all my graphics drivers and stuff like that. And no matter what I did, just randomly, the system would lock up on me. So got the new stuff, assembled it in the same case, same graphics card, because as we all know, graphics cards are impossible to find, and was able to get this up and running with Windows 11, which is Windows. I mean, it's nothing crazy. Like, I don't know, it's fine. It's Windows. They moved the start menu to the middle. Cool. There are some things about it that I'm not crazy about, like when you right click, it doesn't show all the menus unless you say show more options, which I guess I get why after reading the article about it they did that, but it's also annoying when so many of the things that I need are not in these smaller subsets of options. But that aside, everything else has been fine, and everything has been running well. This is a 12-core, 24-thread CPU with, now I have, 32 gigs of RAM, so yeah, it should be running fine. Yeah, 32 gigs of RAM. So hopefully that means the stream will run smoothly and I won't have any issues with encoding, like I did with the old system. Which even when it was new equipment was not really up to date, because I hadn't wanted to kind of spend the money on new equipment. So yeah, so at this point I was 12 years or 10 years out on that stuff, and I just decided, you know what, let me get a new PC, or update the core parts of my PC so that I don't have to do that for a while. So here we are. Now, because of that, obviously, some things are missing. So, like, I didn't have tiled up until a moment ago. Hopefully that means now that that's running and looking decent, that we're in good shape here. I've got the, what's it called? The emulator running properly. I've got Visual Studio Code running properly. I've got Visual Studio 2017 running properly. I've got this new stream layout thanks to E.C. Myers, who put this together for me. So Eugene, I'm not sure if you're in the chat or not, or if you watch this later, but thank you. I really like the new layout you did. Definitely cleaned up some of the nonsense that I had going on in my own layout, and it's a lot cleaner and simpler. So believe this is building correctly. Yes, so this builds the same way as before, and if I find the file, this launches messing. Actually, I had the controller adapter plugged in on the real NES. I have a real NES hooked up here for if we want to test on hardware. One thing I noticed was I replaced the cartridge connector because it was just giving me a hard time, and I realized that it must have been something like what they did for Blinking Light Win, where you don't have to push the cartridge down even though it's a front loader, which is weird because it wasn't advertised anywhere. So that actually works out to my benefit because the EverDrive has that little USB micro connector on it where you can send a ROM to the cartridge while it's powered on. So that's something we'll probably take advantage of once we are kind of back in the full swing of things. So this is all running as expected with the controller, although I'm using a wireless controller right now. It's still working. So what I wanted to do tonight, just to kind of get back into stuff and make it kind of easy, was to come to this code here. So we have our map layout for this map file, and then we have this repeat scroll section. And what I wanted to do was make it so that when you get to the end of the map data, that it actually stops the scrolling, because right now it just keeps going, which means that it gives you a bunch of garbage once you reach the end. So if we go back to the emulator for a minute, and we just kind of zip along through here. I'm not sure what that attribute problem is related to. I didn't remember that being a problem from last time, but the it's clearly one row of the attributes is not being updated. Oh, actually, you know what? No, that does make sense, because in the repeat scroll it doesn't mess with the attributes, and this last row of tiles is going to be the green color from the map here. So that actually does make sense. So you can see it loops back, but I don't remember it doing that, or I don't remember coding that in. That might have been something I changed and we just never updated the asset. So let's start by I had verified that this is running before, so this exported. So let's just do a basic update of the game here, copying over all the exported materials. And then let's pause this and go rebuild, reload the ROM. Okay, so we're back here. Things are looking good, which is exciting because that means I didn't break anything by just doing that right now. Obviously we have all these enemies that are coming through and killing the ship, and when we get to the end of the repeat scroll section, I'm assuming we're going to get just junk because it shouldn't actually continue. Come on. The other thing I was thinking about earlier was the fact that, like, you can get this problem where the enemies go off the edge of the screen, but then they never despawn because the Y coordinate that it's looking for doesn't get hit because of the way, I don't know, it just doesn't spawn it, such that the code actually detects that it hits the bottom. And so the problem with that is, because I'm just using an 8-bit value for the enemy, once it gets past the end of the screen, it can loop over, and then it, you know, it doesn't detect that we went over. So I need to do something where I guess I check the carry of the addition on the enemy, and then like not check did it hit some boundary at the bottom, but rather check to see if it carried when I was doing the addition, so that it can turn that off. I don't remember. Yeah, I guess I must have done. Wow, this is repeating a lot. I can't tell if this is because of the camera positioning at 3600, or if this is because of a bug or something I put in there where it repeats the repeat scrolling. Let's take a look. I guess I could have watched my last video to see kind of where we left off. Oh no. Oh, yeah, that interesting. So that was pretty far. Let me run the script again so I can see the camera position. So it resets the 3600 like it's supposed to. I wonder if there's just a coincidence that it somehow is reading the... Oh yeah, so it because there's nothing left. Okay, all right, that makes sense. So it's just literally overflowing the 16-bit value because it hits the end and there's no map data, so there's nothing to tell it what to do. So what I need to do is I need to set it so that the I'm thinking I'm just going to turn off the camera increment when that happens. So let's go take a look at our code here. So load level. So what it should be doing, is when we hit the end of the layout, it should just be writing 0. I believe that there is just a it's just a null terminated list of the map data. Where is that stored? This is the problem with stepping away for this long, is like you forget some of this stuff. Now at least we spent the time kind of putting everything into separate assembler files so that it's not all just jumbled like it was. It helps it be a little bit more organized, but I don't honestly remember everything about this right now. How's everybody's night going? Hope everyone is having a good weekend and had a lot of fun and got to do some good stuff before the dreaded Monday rolls around. Kevin, I saw you wrapped up your core development of the game. Was that Courier? The Courier, and you're getting people to test it out now. That's exciting. I can't wait to actually get my hands on it. Let me take a look at the export here. I'm in the wrong file. Knocking out some bugs. Nice. So this is the map file. If it's not repeat scroll, it does that. Right, this is all the stuff it does for the normal map export. So the question is, Well, I guess should just look at the load level code because it's going to tell me where it's reading it from. Current level offset, maps, low. Oh, just level data. Okay. So the maps is level 1 and level 1 is this. Oh, is this? Really? It's weird coming back to your own code and being surprised by what you find. Right, so if it's a standard map, okay, so it's missing, it's really missing this because it's going right into the map data. E or E10 is, I believe, the 3600. Yeah, so that's the 3600. And then the 2 and the 3 are the repeating tiles that we have here. So there's no byte 0 to tell you, oh wait, except that is correct because, right? Or no? Yeah, no, that would be right. So that would be the end there. And let's see. So when it loads the map type, and then we'll go to this. Branch not equal to that. Otherwise, done loading tiles. Map is done. Okay. So what I really should do is what is it called? Camera counter speed. Yeah, I guess the camera counter speed is really what I'm talking about. Camera counter speed. All right, so it should zero that out so that we, or actually, is that right? Camera. It's not actually right. The issue is, where are we? Processing game, increment, camera, blah, 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 blah. Where does it increment the camera Y position? So it is always subtracting Y. Hey, Johnny Manjiro, how's it going? So increment camera counter, load a camera counter, compare camera counter speed. So realistically, because we're just using the counter to delay the increment or decrement, whatever it is, should just use a byte to stop the camera. If I set camera counter speed to 0, eventually we will get there as we loop around. So that's why that's not going to work. Yeah. Well, you know, I thought about this, and I was like, so my wife and daughter are away this weekend, so it's just me and our son, and exhausting. He's got like unending energy, and I'm pretty sure my daughter was like that too. But that was like 10 years ago, or well, 8 years ago. So it makes a big difference. Because I don't know. Definitely feel like you don't feel it when you're just kind of doing normal stuff, but your age definitely makes a difference when you're dealing with a kid who just has like non-stop energy to do things. And the last couple of days have just been, yeah, non-stop. Like we've literally just, from the moment he wakes up, not including his nap, till the moment he goes to bed, has just been, I mean, it's been awesome. It's been fun. We've been going outside. We've been playing, kicking the ball around. We went to a couple places around here. But like, yeah, nonstop. I'm going to create another variable. We're going to live dangerously and use a byte for, we could probably combine some of these things into a flag, like a status flag of like what we want to do for if the camera is paused or other things in the game. But it's okay. We'll use this for now. So let's do that here. Range num equal to there, jump, skip, scroll process. Yeah, so if camera pause is not 0, well, that's not what we want. We want this. Hey Matt, how's it going? Old enough to make a Hello World program yet? Well, so our daughter was interested in web pages, but I think she's more interested in the design rather than the technical stuff. Like, she thought it was cool. She was pretty intent on focusing on how to do the things I was showing her in HTML, and she really was excited that she was able to do it. But I know that she's really into design and art, and it seems like while she appreciated understanding how some of that stuff worked, she was less interested in the technical aspects and more interested in how can she make her HTML page look pretty, which is fine. Like, I totally respect that, and I know that she has always kind of loved design and art and stuff like that, so it's not surprising to me. And our son is 2.5, so no, not yet. A little too early. We were doing some skiing this winter and tried to put him on some tiny little skis, and it didn't really work out so much. He, after getting over being terrified about being on the skis, we got him to shuffle around for, I don't know, 5 whole minutes, and then and then he was like, all right, I'm all done. Let's see here, load level. Oh, talking and not paying attention. Okay. Let's try that again. With a proper value in there. I also made the mistake of buying Elden Ring. I don't know why. I kind of didn't think I would. I kind of felt like I wouldn't like it. And I don't, except when I do. I've never played any of the Dark Souls games or anything like that, so I wasn't really prepared. Other than knowing that people are always like, oh man, those games, they're so hard. But after playing it for a while, I just was like, I don't know, it felt more like just a blatant disrespect for my time more than anything. Like, they don't care that I'm sitting there grinding for hours to just beat the first. Ooh, okay, well, so that was interesting. That didn't do what I wanted it to do, but it did something when the camera hit 0, so we'll take a look at that in a second. It just felt like they were kind of, they didn't care that they were wasting my time. Beat the first, I guess you'd call it a minor boss, which is like right in the first area. It is ridiculously difficult, and yeah, after a bunch of grinding, I beat him and got something I couldn't use because I'm still not high enough level for it. So I don't know if that means I shouldn't have been able to beat him, and that's what I get, or what. Like, I can't tell if it's just a blatant FU to me, basically telling me that I shouldn't have tried to beat him because I'm not at a high enough level, or what. It's pretty ridiculous. So yeah, that's my take on Elden Ring. Now I'm ready for people to tell me I'm not good enough and that I'm a loser. And what else? What else do they tell people that don't like the From Software games? Because, you know, we're not allowed to have opinions anymore. Alright, so skip the scroll process. This shouldn't have to do anything anymore. So the question is now, it's still trying to is it just getting stuck in a loop here now? Process game wrap. Yeah, it's getting stuck in a loop. It's getting stuck in a loop because we're at the end of the camera situation. And what's happening is we're skipping the scroll process, and then it's doing some updates, telling it to do, I guess it's saying we need to update the level information, but because it's paused, we don't even need to do that. I'm wondering if I want to bypass this even further. The only problem with that's going to be the code that processes, like if you collide with background, is part of this, I believe. So I may have to move that out of here. But let's I really want it to be, should just return, because I don't want it to do anything related to the level. this is doing it. I guess that's really what I wanted to do there, is call initialize sprites. Because yeah. Because excuse me, because we don't really want it to do any of this stuff anymore. We just wanted to make sure the sprites get cleared out. Hey Eugene, thanks. Definitely like the way the layout looks. It's much cleaner than what I had before. So thank you. I appreciate that you did that. I'm sure everybody else who got tired of looking at my old layouts is also appreciative. So let's see what happens here with this change. It's funny, every time I run the emulator, yeah, it's going okay. Every time I run the emulator at high speed, I can hear the fans ramping up now. All right, so that's skipping to that now. Let's make sure that, yeah, okay, cool. So that's what I wanted it to do. So it actually stopped at camera 0 now. So now let's see if I can make it so that the ship actually survives long enough to test this out. But one thing I probably want to do is, do I want to reduce the number of loops? That's a lot of loops. 3600. Why did I choose? Is it based on 32 or 16? 3600 and 16. $3,600 is, oh no, wait, 3,600 is divided by 240, right? Since 15 screens worth, just do 5, 1,200. All right, let's re-export this. All right, re-export that. The only thing we need to do manually, because it's not doing this in the export process currently, is the level data here doesn't have the 0-byte terminator. So, but that's built now. So let's restart that. And where's my script? There it is. Okay. So, yeah, okay, cool. That didn't make the change that I wanted, and then ship managed to survive, and great. So then that means, that's funny. So the ship, so the ship's moving its position, because its world position is now decrementing, but the rest of the world is no longer moving. Process player input. Let's process the actual ship. Oh, player. There it is. All right. All I was thinking process player, but then the file doesn't actually say process in it. All right. So really what I need to do, let's rename that, because this is really scrolling paused. We could, use this later if we wanted to, where we could actually pause the scrolling of the game, deliberately, where maybe there's an enemy. Yeah, maybe there's an enemy that we want to, pause the background for, and you fight the enemy, and then once you're done, the scrolling continues on. So, all right, so let's rename this scrolling paused. And so then for the player, we need to do the same thing. Eugene, one funny thing I noticed is every time you retweet anything that I tweet, Twitter freaks out and is like, okay, you just got retweeted by somebody with a lot of followers. Do you want to change who can respond to your tweet? Which I think is kind of hilarious, because you have way more followers than I do, but it's not to the level. Yeah, I know. It's not to the level where I would be concerned. Yeah, it's like your tweet was retweeted by an account with lots of followers. Want to limit who can reply? And every time that's happened recently, I've been meaning to tell you that that happens, but it's really funny. I wonder what it does when you I wonder what it does if you get somebody with 1 million followers retweeting something you tweeted. Is it brace yourself, or I don't know? Because again, you have more than I do, but it's not, what is it, 5,000? Something like that. More than that, maybe. I don't know. Let's see, real time. Yeah, 5,500. That's a decent amount. Definitely see people noticing because of your retweet, but it's just really funny. Maybe there's something in the algorithm where it's relative numbers. If you have 5,000 and the person who retweets it has 5,000, it doesn't care, but because it's a 10 times factor, it's warning me. All right, so maybe I should pay attention to this. So this is okay. So this is taking the world position and subtracting it, but it shouldn't do that if the scrolling is paused. It does that, and then it also calculates the offset based on the camera position, so that we can calculate the relative screen position as well. Offset an entity by camera, modified velocity based on world position, and then transform to screen position. Well, wait, I thought it did that. Y world position, Y world position, set carry, subtract, range carry set. It does that. This calculates the screen position. Right, so it's doing all this. So skip Y velocity. So what I want to do is I want to here load a what did I call it? Scrolling pause. To there. So if it's paused, then I can't do that. We'll just say skip camera offset, or actually, what do I do? I want to do this. So it's 0, then skip this jump. If it isn't, then jump to skip y velocity. Okay, I think that'll do it. Let's see if that stops the ship from incorrectly scrolling for forever. Still wish there was some way to tell Messin that you wanted to. Hey, all right. So can I move the ship around? Well, we're at warp speed here. Yeah, that looks good. Okay. Yeah, I really wish there was a way to tell Messin to always run a script when you are starting your code out. Maybe there is, and I just don't know how. But anyway, so this is good. So that means that when we reach the end of the level, everything comes to a stop the way it should, which means we don't reach some weird sort of limbo state where we are scrolling into data on the cartridge incorrectly. Okay, the entity stuff is working good for projectiles. All right. So did I accidentally paste that in? I guess so. Okay. Cool. So that's good. That takes care of that, except for the export process where we are not writing that byte in the export. So let's do that now and get that taken care of. Level data.asm. Oops. Level data.asm. All right. So this is being used. Wait. Create text file, level data, and then it exports that. It writes this text, does all this stuff, and then okay, so right before we write out the object files, so we have these object files that we're iterating through. So iterate through all the object files we need to include in our level data. I should probably have had that comment there anyway. Systemox.write text line level data. All right, so that's that. And then that's going to write out its object data, I think. Let's see. Cool. So I have an extra new line that I don't technically need. Oh, I deleted the period that you do need. But I am now missing the tab. I mean, all of this stuff doesn't really matter because it's just cosmetic, but definitely makes it easier to read when you do it the right way. What is going on with this? 1, 2, 3, 4. Did I? 1, 2, 3, 4. So I've thought about that. I'm kind of not sure what I want to do, if I'm honest. Somebody I know has offered me a 3060, an RTX 3060 that they don't need because they ended up getting some ridiculous 3090, and it's a decent price what they want for it. But at the same time, the Steam Deck is imminent. I'm in the Q2 2022 range, so that's like next week. I think they're going to start taking the money for actually having that ship. And as much as I'd love to have both, I just can't justify spending the money on the new graphics card and the Steam Deck. Now, to be clear, it's not the most expensive one. I did sign up for the middle tier one, which is what, like $529. I think that's what it is, $529, and that's about the cost of the graphics card too. So could I do it? I mean, yeah, I guess, but at the same time, do I want to spend that much money on that? No. Especially not after fighting people online for all the Mega Man stuff that I just got, because as you all probably know, the price of retro stuff has gotten stupidly expensive. And while I managed to get some good deals, mostly because I had the cartridge already, and I didn't really care about the condition of the boxes as much as maybe somebody else might, it was still a lot of money. So not sure if we'll keep the Steam Deck, but I'm willing to buy it if we don't want it. Yeah, the middle tier seemed like a good sweet spot, right? Because it's got the faster storage, but it's not the fastest storage. And it's not the slow storage, and you can still use SD cards no matter what. But that's the other thing. It's like I've got a 400 gig SD card that I can put into it if I needed to. So I don't have to spend money to put extra storage in. I had gotten that for something else. I mean, I don't know. How much gaming would I do on the PC if I got the card? Probably not that much. And the most of the gaming that I do works perfectly fine on my GTX 970 that I'm still using. So, I don't know. Plus I've got the PS5 and the Xbox Series X. Both of which I barely have time to use anyway. I don't know if you were on when I was mentioning that I was playing Elden Ring, and that's on the PlayStation. But yeah, I don't know. It's hard to justify. It's a lot of money. Whether I have it and can spend it or not, it's a lot of money. For either one of those things, and then, like I said, to do both, I can't justify that. So my thinking with the Steam Deck was like, okay, it's also a computer, so I could, technically load up, productivity stuff. I could even do NES development on it if I wanted to, because, it's even running in Linux, you can still do all that stuff. And it's got a decent graphics core on it. But on the flip side, I'm using this old graphics card on a pretty new build of a system. It's kind of a waste to be running a GTX 970 on a Ryzen 5800 or 5900X. But I don't know. Like I said, I mean, Forza Horizon what is it? The new one's 5? Yeah, Forza Horizon 5 runs perfectly fine. Even though the settings are low, it still runs fine. I mean, it doesn't look as good as the Xbox, but, you know, if I really wanted it to look that good, I'd play it on the Xbox on the... I have a 65-inch TV down here, so... Just seems like kind of overkill. Alright, so let's build this and... The other thing I was thinking about with like all the Mega Man stuff that I just got. For those of you who don't follow me on Twitter, and just saw the notification, which I don't think is most. I think almost everybody follows me on Twitter, but anyway, I didn't. What I'm talking about is for reasons I can't explain, decided that I needed to convert my all cartridge Mega Man, NES, and Super Nintendo collection to boxed copies. So that's Mega Man 1 through 6 on the NES and 7, X1, X2, and X3 on the Super Nintendo, because Mega Man Soccer can get out of here. Nobody likes that game. I mean, the other games I actually really like. Mega Man Soccer I have zero interest in, so it just didn't make sense to spend the money on that, even though that's probably one of the cheaper of the games. Cool, this is perfect. This is exactly what I wanted to do. But yeah, prices on the retro stuff have just gotten insane. Now, thankfully, the copy of Mega Man 1 that I did get, which I can't believe how expensive Mega Man 1 is, considering that I actually think it's probably one of the worst Mega Man NES games. I shouldn't say that. No, that's not true. I'm going to get in trouble for saying that. It's not my favorite Mega Man 1 game on the NES. So I don't consider it to be the best one. It's very good, but it's not my favorite. But it is crazy how expensive that one has gotten. But I was able to get the first print that has the misprint on the back that says, you know, the Dr. Wright. Yeah, you know, Johnny, it's funny you say that, because I was talking to somebody about the PAL games and the Super Famicom games, and the PAL games especially are just crazy expensive. I don't know how much the Mega Man and base are for Super Famicom now. Generally, the Super Famicom stuff is cheaper, but who knows? Like, I know Dracula X for the Super Nintendo now boxed is like $800+. Even the cartridge alone is a lot of money. And I had sold my cartridge a while ago because it just couldn't justify like having that cartridge, especially considering that I was trying to keep things boxed and I wasn't going to spend that much money on the game. It makes me wish that I had bought it when it, you know, a few years ago, like 2018, 2019, for $500 when I was balking at that. But that aside, the Super Famicom version of that game is only $170. And granted, that's still a lot of money for an old game that they made a decent number of, but it's not $800+. So I have that one instead. And I mean, most of it is the same. I don't know. I can't even think of... I haven't played it through enough to even know, like, if there's text in there that's a problem because it's in Japanese. Most of that game, is in English. So, really good soundtrack in that game. Wow. Okay. So I'm really... Okay, so I got that working. I think I'm happy with that. The only thing I did notice is at the bottom, so it didn't actually scroll the one to the very zeroth spot I think I'm okay with leaving that as it is. So we're at about an hour here, a little bit less on the recording because I waited for people to join. So what do you think, chat? Should I try to implement an enemy turret type, or should I just call it all good? We got everything working and running the way it's supposed to, and I'll start streaming again, and we'll start implementing some more things moving forward. I kind of want to try that. I kind of want to try adding a new enemy, just because it's been a while since I've worked on any of this stuff, and it's kind of fun to play around with. One of the things I was thinking about, and before I took the break from streaming, as I was telling you about how I was thinking about the design of the game and how I'm having a little bit of a tough time thinking about like how to design the game in general, for shmups. And Eugene, you had recently streamed, was it Xanac? I think that's the game. It's something like that, but an NES shooter that's really cool that I do want to play through some more. And I have a lot of ideas, but the issue is like I need to figure out a good way to iterate on them quickly with what I've built. So yeah, Xanac. So seems like a really interesting game. I did watch a good chunk of that stream when you were playing it. Some really interesting ideas, and I think, doesn't the enemy AI become harder as you have more powerful weapons? Is that what I remember, or is that a different game that you were playing? But I'm not planning on doing anything like that. But I think what I want to try and do, let's not implement a full implementation of an enemy, but let's do this. Let's walk through the process of what does it take to add a new enemy to the map, to the game, and then we can talk about like what we need to do to streamline that process so that I can start building out enemies and experimenting, because I think that's going to be the only way that I'm going to be able to finish, is to just try stuff. Like, okay, here are these enemies. I've placed them here. Does that seem right? Does it seem wrong? I have another idea about something that I want to try related to power-ups that we can, implement later, but that's not really dependent on what I'm talking about here. It's really about how can I say, okay, I need a new enemy, let's put it on, and let's see how that iteration goes, even if it doesn't actually implement any logic other than just to, sit on the map. So if you use certain power-ups, it really... Oh, so it's kind of like... It's almost like rubber banding AI in the opposite way, where in a racing game... I guess that's rubber banding because in the race it helps you come closer to the other racers. But it's like it's punishing you for using the very powerful things. I wonder if that's an inspiration for the From Software games. I know somebody is going to see that part of this video and just like crucify me in the comments for criticizing them. But oh well. All right, so let's start by just taking a copy of this, and let's call it, let's do it on the main. Let's do it on the main map. I don't want to do it in the repeat scroll. I just want it to show up right in the beginning. All right, so here is this enemy. So we will do the bottom of the screen, or the bottom of that part is here. Actually, you know what? World load. It is. The world is loaded. can I flip this around by just dragging it? How do I do that? World, load world, level 1. Yeah, I did. I thought that's what I had already. Forget how this works exactly. Do I know there's a way to show world. All right, that's not important. I was going to rearrange the order, but it doesn't really matter. Why are my parents calling me? Excuse me for a moment. They don't normally call at this time of night, so I just want to make sure everything's okay. Well, that was nice. I had my parents over yesterday, and my mom was calling to say thank you. I don't know why she needed to do it at 9 o'clock at night the next day, but, you know, I guess it's the thought that counts. Like I said, she doesn't normally call at this time of night, so I got a little bit worried. All right, so we'll call this turret. We'll leave the sprite type alone because I don't have a sprite for the turret, but that should be that. Now, there needs to be an entity type called turret here. And I believe that's it. Please, I've explained how this all works to them before, and they just are somewhat missed it. Like, they kind of get the idea, but they're not technical people. It's funny to think about. I was explaining to somebody this week at work about how, you know, I'm coding and okay, that actually seems to have worked out pretty seamlessly. So I was explaining to somebody at work how, like, you know, I'm pretty technical and I do all this development work. It's become, you know, my job. It was something I was interested in on my own. You know, I taught myself before I went to even college because I was really into programming. And my parents are like the least technical people I know, have no interest in computing or technology other than like to just get. It's kind of like they're the same way with cars. Like, they have zero interest in cars other than as a utilitarian mode of transportation. But I love, like, sports cars, the design, the aesthetics, the speed, all that kind of stuff. It's funny how you, like, certain things you definitely get from your parents, and certain things you just don't. And my love of computing and coding and technology definitely does not come from them. All right, so this is literally just gonna return, so that should just be enough to process. Oh, right. I've got to actually import that into the code here. Here it is. Okay. Okay. So that's that. So let's reload the ROM. Okay. So we should, in theory, see an enemy pop up over here on the left-hand side. It's not going to do anything. Actually, where is it on the map? It's pretty far up, but it should have shown up already. I feel like. So well, but you do like, I mean, you like puzzles in the sense of, or it seems like at least you like puzzles in the sense of like video games that have puzzles in the game, right? So it's just a different kind of puzzle, I feel like. Or at least that's kind of the sense that I get. So it processed it, and it's there. Sprite type is the existing one. Did I just miss it while I was talking? What's going on? It's going to be on that third island. Oh, that was interesting. Was that because of the pause, or was that an actual... It was just the pause happening in a weird spot caused that. She likes jigsaw puzzles, but I find them kind of boring. She did play. Oh, that's cool. My dad only ever played... He played the NES a couple of times, and the one game that he played the most of was Top Gun. And somehow he managed, just pure luck, he managed to land on the first level. And then was never able to do it again. But it was pretty funny. We were kind of cracking up about the fact that he was able to do that and then never able to do it again. Yeah, beginner's luck. Yeah, definitely. I think as a kid, I never really kind of understood what the heck it was they were trying to get me to do. As an adult, it's still annoying, but I've managed to do it a few times. You know, it's just kind of aggravating. All right, so what do I have to do? Oh, you know what? All right, I know what the problem is. The problem is that it needs to increment. And it's a shame because, like, I actually kind of like parts of it. Like, there are some parts that are pretty cool, but it's just so, like, obtuse at times. So really what I just need to do is I need to... This is a player bullet, so it's going the wrong way. So I just need to increment load A. I can just do essentially what the cloud is doing. It's the Same basic idea as the cloud. So so what's happening, I realize now what it is that it's probably spawning off screen, and then it never goes away because you have to make it move along with the scrolling screen in order for it to actually appear, because it spawns off screen and then it should scroll down, but the screen is scrolling up and it's just stationary, which is why you never see it. It never despawns. So that should, I think this will take care of it. And I just stole the code from the cloud because it does exactly the same thing. There it is. All right, cool. So now the only other thing is it should also collide with me. So I should also check the collision. See, this is all good because maybe this is something I can, like, this code is stock standard kind of code that any sort of quote-unquote stationary object is going to need. All right, so we'll put the collision check here. So it's going to load the object, and then it's going to check to see if it collides with the player. And then T1 is what's going to tell it if it did or not. Come on, it's not a shoot 'em up if you can't collide with something that you don't want to collide with. So yeah, so load whether it collided or not, and then if it didn't, right, branch if equal, just RTSs. So if it's 0, then so branch if equal to did not collide. Still need to check if it scrolled off screen. If it did collide, there's really nothing else to do other than clear the entity. And return. All right, so I think that should do it, and then we'll be good. We'll call it an evening once we get this working. It's a good way to kind of get back into. Hey, there we go. That works. It is laundry day. No, I just figured my wife and daughter are going to have laundry that they need to do tomorrow when they come back from their trip, and didn't want to make it a huge amount of yeah, no, that's what that is. That's the dryer. So it's on the wrinkle protect mode because, you know, fancy technology, we can do that now. All right, so I can't shoot the turret yet, but that's okay. Yeah, unfortunately we don't have a garage. I would love if we did, but we do not. I also prefer wrinkle-free clothing, so it is the best option for what we're doing here. Oh no, this is all one hit. Come on, man. Get good, right? I don't know what we're going to do. If it's going to be one-hit kills, maybe, probably. Maybe there are going to be power-ups that prevent you from dying after one hit. Still working on that. Still working on trying to figure that out. But I totally hit that guy. Who wrote this collision detection? Alright, so let's go past the repeat scroll here. And good. And we reach the end, and it actually stops, and like you'd have the boss here, and you just, come on! Dodging and everything. So, cool. Great. Well, that was successful. I feel good about how that went, and we're only an hour and a half in, a little bit less, so I have to figure out if I'm going to get back to doing my normal stream schedule or not. I will keep people posted, but I'm definitely going to have to get back into streaming. And we'll work on adding more enemies, and I will think about, so like I was saying, the process of adding this turret, right? There's a lot of this code is just kind of boilerplate that I stole from other enemies, because you have this code which is just moving the enemy along on the screen so that it is scrolling along with the background. There's this code which is checking to see if it collided with the player. And then there's this code that checks to see if you're off screen, right? It's pretty basic stuff. And I shouldn't have to necessarily write that every time for the new enemies I'm creating. So if not the export tool, then maybe I just have like a boilerplate file somewhere that kind of has this. That'll help expedite creating more enemies. So now the next thing is, we got to make the turret actually be a turret. Actually, one other cool thing we can do before we go here, as I go off screen for a second. Let's see if this will load correctly. I need to copy. Sorry, I'm switching scenes here. Copy. Paste. Oh, good. The chat is there. All right. So now, in theory, should be able to do this. So that's the NES through my RetroTink 2X. And what is it called? EdLink. N8 shooter NES. Hey, cool. All right, that worked. And now this is actually streaming in with my what's it called? With my EverDrive on a real NES. One thing I don't understand is I think I have to. I need to set the I need to set the hotkey so that I can reload the ROM without having to hit the button on the cartridge. It's not a top loader. It is a front loader. This is just composite video coming in through a RetroTink 2X. But as you can see, it runs exactly like it does on the emulator. But this is on real hardware, which is awesome. Oh, I gotta figure out what that's about. There's some sort of collision that just happened, and I don't think it was with an enemy. But we can let that run through in the background to see if it behaves the same way with the stopping of the scrolling. With the stopping of the scrolling and the it's my Professor Frank. Anyway, do you have the EverDrive directly connected to your computer? Yes. So there is a USB micro port on the EverDrive N8 Pro. And I have a cable running from my USB hub here to the EverDrive, and you can load using this utility that Crix wrote. You can load your ROM in on the EverDrive while it's running. Oh, so it is down and up, down and start. I mean, okay, cool. So I can reload the game just by bringing up that menu. That's really funny. So I can. Hey, save states, cool. That's kind of awesome. And then as long as the menu is up, I can load the ROM directly. That's pretty cool. So he had some example oh, I did the same thing. He had some example NES code or loading code that I had used, but did I overwrite? Maybe I overwrote his code with mine, but anyway. Yeah, so this tool is on his website. If you want, I can just send you the zip package of it, but it's just a few different things that you can do with it. Looks like you can write updates to the SD card too, which is kind of cool. But for me, the biggest thing is just to be able to make a change and say, okay, let's reload that, and then I can actually try it out. I remember Matt Hewson was talking about that was a huge time saver for him, which is one of the reasons when Crix was having the sale back in, during the holiday season, I had actually decided to get the N8 Pro, even though I already had the N8, because it just kind of made sense to be able to do that. So I just didn't realize you had to have it in the menu like that. So yeah, I know you can do save states with just the regular hotkeys, but for this utility, it looks like it's got to be in the menu for the utility to load the new ROM into memory. So does that work? Oh, and then you can go back to that's pretty cool, because it doesn't load the game onto the SD card, it just loads it into memory. So when you're in this menu, I can load it like that, but then once the game is running, it gives you a timeout error. I think it's got to be running like some code hook to make that work. All right, who wants to play Mega Man? So see, I thought about it, but I'm like, what do I need two NES flash cartridges for? If anything, I've got the NT Mini Noir, and I've got the jailbreak on it, so I can load ROMs onto the SD card. So, that obviously makes it easier to justify getting rid of one of them. So, all right, I think we're good. So, yeah, I guess it's nice to have a spare, especially I guess since it's going to be a while before Crix can get more made. I know some of you probably know, but for those of you who don't, Crix is based in the Ukraine, and thankfully he and his family have left the country and are now in Spain. It sounded like he had a home in Spain, but obviously that's put a whole big, halt on everything he's doing. So EverDrives have become, that's the only thing that I've noticed is my NES here is sometimes annoying with glitching like that. I'm not sure what the problem is. And that's not the EverDrive that's doing that. It's the NES. Yeah, I saw his team is still in the Ukraine. So obviously it's a tough situation for everybody there. But that's an understatement. And also it's a more direct hit for people who are into retro gaming, because obviously he is one of the biggest suppliers of these kinds of cartridges, and because of the invasion there, that's stopped his ability to make them. So my hope is he doesn't have to figure out an alternative means of creating these to sell them, that he can maybe return home and things are okay. But that's like the most optimistic situation. More likely it's going to be a while before he's able to do that. So, but if you haven't already, if you can, you should help out that situation by either donating or, there are all those bundles that these sites are selling. If you can do that, I mean, obviously if you can't, don't feel bad, but if you can, it's pretty terrible. I have family in Poland, on the eastern side of the country, northeastern side of the country, and my aunt specifically has taken in some refugees from the Ukraine, because they have the room to be able to do it, and they're just trying to help. It's a bad situation. And the people of Poland especially know what it's like to deal with Russian oppression. I don't know, should I not be talking about this in my live stream, in the recorded section? I don't know. But it's a serious situation, and my mom's family had to deal with it for many years, before the Russian influence truly left Poland. So they're keenly aware of the situation and what Russia wants to do, and it's I feel for the people of the Ukraine, because it's an awful situation. No matter what the history is, it's just terrible, and I can't even imagine what they must all be going through. So yeah, exactly. Hoping the best. I'm hoping that something can be done soon. So, on that somber note, thank you all for watching. For those who would like to reach out to me about NES development, you can reach me on Twitter at Clairvis. You can reach me on Video Game Sage, or now Video Game Sages, extra S there. I'm Zelius there on Video Game Sages and the forums and the Discord. I have tried to help get that domain fixed. I have a friend who works at Google who has not gotten back to me, unfortunately, about the domain issue that's causing Video Game Sage to be Video Game Sages. Hopefully he will soon. You can reach me on Discord just in general at Clairvis. If you're looking for me, you should be able to find me there. But I'm on a few other Discord servers. You can also become a patron if you're so inclined. Certainly not a requirement. I don't give anybody any extra special treatment for that. That's purely just because they feel inclined to support what I'm doing here. Although you do get access to a Discord server that I've created specifically for NES programming and related to the content that I've created here. and I am on it. But feel free to reach out to me otherwise. Good night, Eugene. Thanks for stopping by. And yeah, I don't know. Sorry that all that talk kind of put a damper on me trying to plug my stuff at the end. But good night, everybody. Thanks for stopping by. Hope this was enjoyable, and I'll see you next time. I'll update everybody on what the new stream schedule will be soon. All right, take care.